It's our Tout Wars weekend recap episode. We'll recap the Tout Wars head-to-head points league with Joe Gallina next on Beat the Shift. And welcome to another episode of the Beat the Shift podcast. I am your host, Ariel Cohen. Ruben Guy is not here today, but instead we have the awesome Joe Gallina. What's going on, Joe?
Just happy to be here, Ariel. Thanks for inviting me on. Sorry that Ruvain can't be joining us, but I'd love to listen to your podcast, and really happy to be talking some Tout Wars auction draft with you today.
Absolutely. Well, we thought we'd have you on, as yesterday and the whole weekend actually was Tout Wars weekend in New York City, where a large number of industry folks get together, and we had the live auctions. There was 2 of them on Saturday, 2 of them on Sunday, including ours. We are in the Tout head-to-head points league, where I've been at not since the start, but since about 2019. What about you? How long have you been in this league?
This is my 4th year.
All right.
So, yeah, still a newbie.
Semi-newbie, although we had a bunch of newbies this year. We had 2 new guys.
Yep.
But we thought we would come on and talk about what's going on in general in leagues, and maybe we can learn a little bit of different strategies as well from all of what we see. Mm-hmm. So I'll just put it right out. What was your plan going into this head-to-head point strategy? How do you like to attack it?
Okay, so last year wasn't a very good year for me in Tout. Like I said, this is my 4th year. First 2 years, I made the playoffs, but last year I did not do well, and I used the stars and scrubs approach. Spent a lot of money on guys like Bobby Witt, Jose Ramirez, Mookie Betts. This year, I wanted to take a more balanced approach. And basically, Logan Webb and Jackson Chourio were the only 2 players that I paid more than $20 for. So, my prep involved, basically, obviously using an auction calculator, using ATC projections. Congratulations on what a great job you do with them. So, yeah, I use an auction calculator. Believe it or not, I also take a look at last year's results, since a lot of the same players play in our league year after year, just to get a sense. The labor mixed auction draft was the weekend before. I took a look at those. So I have last year's Tout results.
I was in the labor mix last week.
I saw. Yeah. And so those are my 3 things, right? Last year's results, the labor mixed auction results that happened a week ago, and an auction calculator. So basically, I look for players that hit for power but don't strike out too much, and players that have upside, that they're here. I mean, they're doing well. They have underlying good skills, but guys like I mentioned, Jackson Chourio, 21 years old, 2 straight 2020 seasons, 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases. Vinny Pasquantino still developing. Zach Neto still developing. Jacob Mizorowski, great underlying skills, still developing. And Tatsuya Imai, who throws a slider that comes in on righties, right? I mean, and he's going to take down the Dodgers. So I always look for guys with upside as well. So that's part of it. I mean, I since it's a head-to-head league, I try to draft individuals who are consistent. Like, I'll always avoid a guy like a Michael Harris, who goes on seems every year he goes on like a 2-month stint where he does nothing, then all of a sudden he just gets hot. I don't like streaky players in this in this format. They're probably better for Roto, obviously, but I guess if I had a weakness, it would be that I don't follow a stringent set of rules in this type of draft. I kind of go with the punches as well. So I guess it could be a weakness, but it could also be a strength too, because you need to pivot sometimes.
So I'm gonna push you on that. When you say go and roll with the punches, what does that actually mean?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you see that there's a run on starting pitching and it gets expensive, you need to adjust your strategy that way. I mean, I come in knowing that I want to pay a certain amount of use a certain amount of my dollars on a specific position, and then if I see that, look, I'm going to get shut out because look, my draft prep wasn't panning out. So I mean, you need to be a little bit of flexible in these, especially when you're playing with the room that we were playing with. With the tremendous amount of talent in that room.
Right. Okay. So, what did you notice that was in the draft that was not according to your plan? That you thought, oh, it's going to be this way, and I can spend a certain thing here, and you went to the draft in the auction, and you're like, oh, that's not true.
Mm. Oh, I was a little surprised, but in retrospect, I shouldn't have been at how much catchers were going. And even though I looked at what they were going for in labor, I thought I could have gotten some more value out of catchers. They were going in the high teens, low 20s. But other than that, I really can't say that I noticed too much that I really didn't expect this year. I mean, we knew that the three top starting pitchers were going to go for close to $40, right? We knew that off the bat.
Sure.
You knew that Aaron Judge was going to go for 50 plus, and actually in other drafts this weekend he went for over 60. So to me, I really can't say that I was too surprised at the way things unfolded. I don't know if you have a different perspective, but I kind of wasn't shocked at the way things went.
So I came in. So the way that I do my auction prep for any league is I get my ATC projected values, right, and I see what players are worth according to ATC. Obviously, I don't take ATC as gospel. I do make some tweaks for my own preferences and what I think is different playing time or whatever. And the second biggest thing, the most, maybe even more important, or not more important, but just as important, is I come in with a set of market values, and I spend a lot of time combing through ADPs and adjusting it for this point format to see what I think people are going to be paying for players. And I do that in order to see where I want to actually spend the money. And when I made the plan, I knew that catchers, or I thought that catchers would be expensive, and I decided to play there. So when I bought my players, I knew, you know what, I'm going to buy at least one expensive catcher. I don't know which one. And frankly, I don't even care which one. Cal Raleigh is in a different league. That's a different price point. But any of the other guys, Shea Langoliers, Hunter Goodman, William Contreras, any one of those, I'm really okay with buying any one of them. I just want the biggest discount in the range. So I set my plan and I say, all right, I'm going to pay, I don't know, $18 and I'll get one of those catchers, right? Whatever is the cheapest relative. You don't always know. And, I guessed and I came up with William Contreras. I'm not sure I guessed correctly for that range. I think there was some other prices that I liked better. So I got Contreras for 18, but I thought, for example, Hunter Goodman at 15 was slightly better. I thought that, what's his name? Shea Langoliers at 19 was also pretty decent relative. Augustin Ramirez, that was the one that I'm like, oh, wow, he went for 8. And I thought, he's not, William Contreras is not $10 better than Augustin Ramirez. So I sort of misguessed that. However, if you could see what happened at the bottom of the auction with catchers, I mean, catchers went nuts at the bottom, especially when people had too much money left over.
Yes.
But in general, so what I'm doing is I'm guessing. I'm also guessing, you know what? I think there's going to be bargains in the middle infield. You know what? I think there's going to be a couple of high teens, low $20 pitchers. Somebody there is going to be a bargain. So I said, you know what, let me get one, or even two, actually, I planned for. And I come in with my price points. Now, what happens is, as the auction happens, I determine how hot it is. I always tell people I take auction temperature. I see, is it going hotter than I expected? And what I mean by that are the projected values and market values I come in with. Is it going according to that plan, or is it going even higher than I thought? And for this, I don't know, you tell me if wrong, I thought it was hotter than expected.
For a specific position or just in general?
In general, at the top of the auction.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I'm going to tell you what, at every start of any draft, I guess it just goes back to the days when, obviously I've been playing fantasy for a while, and the early days of the internet where, when you're ticking down to, the start of your draft, you just, there's a nerve. I get a little nervous. So, I think you threw out Freddie Peralta, right?
That was my first nomination, yes.
Yeah, and I took him. so it's like, I guess I kind of, in a way, maybe I'm guilty of starting off a little hot because I like to get that first buy under my belt, and then my nerves kind of calm down, and then I'm ready to go.
So here's what I saw. And remember, this is not Roto. So the dollar values, at least the way that I calculate them, are more muted than a Roto league, where the top value. So, for example, I have Shohei Ohtani at $43 value, Soto at $40. Well, what happened? Ohtani actually went cheap. Ohtani went to $41 to Ryan Hallam, which was a great buy, and I actually bid $40. I didn't want to spend in the 40s on any player just because what I was trying to do. But I said 40. He said 41. I'm surprised nobody went higher. But
I know. I almost did. I missed it by half a second.
He came out late. He came out maybe like, I don't know, the fourth or fifth round of us nominating. And by that time, people spent money and they're like, I don't want to go there. And not Ryan. He was good with that.
Yeah, he's very aggressive. I noticed that over the years.
He is.
Which is good.
Juan Soto, I have valued at 40. He went for 46. Aaron Judge, I have valued at 38. He went for 52. To me, that's like a plus 6 over. That's 14 over. Jose Ramirez, 32. He went for 39. That's 7 over. Next hitter, Tucker, 30. He went for 37. So when I find guys going $7 or over, in fact, my rule is $5 in this type of format. If players are going more than $5 over at the top, I call it a hot auction. And when I see that, I know that I have to stay really clear of anybody high priced, because there will be bargains in the middle. Play the middle. By the way, that was not the case for when I did labor. You mentioned labor. And when I saw labor, players were only going like $4 or $5 over. So for that one, I said, this is a cold auction. I need to get involved. I bought Juan Soto for $44, which in that format was like $3 overpay. I bought Fernando Tatis at $31, which was like $1 overpay. So I was not when I did my plan, I'm like, maybe I'll get a $30 player, maybe not. I got 2 players over 30. In this league, I thought I would get 1 player over 30. I got nobody over 20. My highest bid was 20, if you can believe it, by the way.
Yeah, I believe it. I was there. and like I said, I misspoke because I said I only had 2 guys in the 20s. I guess my most expensive player was Jazz Chisholm at 29. And, I was prepared to go, I don't know, I think I got him for exactly what I anticipated on getting him. And, Jazz Chisholm, 30-30 guy, second base, third base eligible. So I think I got a decent deal on him. But
Jazz, you paid how much?
I paid 29.
29 for Jazz. I'll tell you what, my system said he was worth 16.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because in this format, the stolen bases, I don't think are as valuable as you think. Although, this does not account for position eligibility, so maybe he's worth more than that, in terms of eligibility. Again, this is according to my numbers. My numbers are not gospel, obviously, but he was not a guy I was even going to bother paying for at all.
Okay.
My return Roto value for last year for him, even though he did go 30-30, I had him as a $13 player. Now, he does strike out a lot.
Yes, yeah, I know that's a
that's
a no-no. I try to avoid that, and and that's why I go for guys like Pasquantino, who doesn't strike out a lot. Yeah,
Pasquantino, I have worth even more. I've worth $18.
Yeah, that's what I got him for.
Right, so that was a par value deal. But yeah. And Pasquantino does not strike out. By the way, Pasquantino, friend of the podcast, he was on our 100th episode of our show here. By the way.
Oh, that is so awesome, Pasquatch. Love that guy.
He is pretty good.
And, he hit 11 home runs in the last month of the season. They're moving in the fences in Kaufman Stadium. Another 30 home run season for him. Like you said, in our format where you get penalized for hitters that strike out a lot, it's a big deal that he
Yes,
doesn't.
yes, yes, yes. I thought one of your best bargains of the night was Will Smith. I thought that was phenomenal. You spent $9, and he's like an $18 player. I already had two catchers, so I just couldn't buy it. But I thought that was maybe even the best deal out of all the catchers.
Yeah, I was happy with that. Then I picked up Edgar Cuero for $2 because Teal is going to be out for several weeks.
Yeah, that's totally good.
You know,
What do you think your best buy was? Because I thought it was Smith.
yeah. Best Buy. Yeah, getting Smith for $9 was very good. For the most part, I didn't get too many bargains. I'm not going to lie to you, right? But I think I got a decent deal on Zach Neto, right? Got him for $19. According to the auction calculator, he was at 23. In labor, he went for 26. I think that he missed a bunch of time at the end of the season last year.
And I think you got him at a little bit of a discount only because he has the injury scare right now.
Yeah.
So people didn't want to buy him. But you remember, it's also is a playoff league. So hopefully he'll come back for full health. And by the way, I thought you bought Cade Smith, who's like one of the top closers. You bought him for only $15. I thought that was superb.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, Trevor Story. I know he strikes out a lot, but getting him for $7, where I think he's a double digit. I don't know what your,
I had him worth $9, so
yeah,
you know,
okay, a little bit, yeah.
What was your worst buy or biggest mistake? But I should preface it. There was a bit of a money issue. We're going to talk about it in a minute with the whole league. I think that people terribly budgeted. Literally 2/3 of the league. But like for example, you got Sal Stewart. I don't think you thought Sal Stewart was a $14 player.
Absolutely
but you paid $14 because you just had money left.
Perfectly said, yes. I was like, I like Sal Stewart. I think he's going to be a good player this season. I think he's even working out at second base, so who knows? Maybe he gets multi-position eligibility before the season's over. I did not anticipate spending $14 on him, but by the time he was thrown out, I liked him. I had a lot of extra money, and you don't want to leave this draft with money, because all the money that you spend, if a player goes on the IL, you get it back, right?
Fab Reclaim League.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a big deal. I also overpaid for Jack Caglione. But part of you asked me what my prep was and the whole deal. Part of this is, and it's what you asked me as I left. He said, you asked me if I had fun, and yes, I had fun, because in this format, yes, you have to be disciplined. You have to, know how much you want to spend on a player. But at the same time, it's an auction format, so you could go after the guys that you want. It's not a snake where you're estimating that a snake draft like a roto style, where you're estimating that someone's going to go between, let's say, the 6th and 8th round, and then maybe you might guess wrong, and you don't get your player. But in this format, hey, I like Jack Caglione. I think that, his expected stat, he had a terrible start to he had a rookie year, bad year. But his expected stats, some of them were pretty good, and he only struck out 22.5% of the time. And obviously we love what he's doing in the spring with his exit velocity and all this stuff. But, part of, in this format, like I said, it's not just being disciplined where you don't overpay for everything, but just getting the players that you're going to enjoy having on your team and watching, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Absolutely.
Hey, I'll give you one other one that's I think I got a good deal on, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, please.
But Teoscar Hernandez for $7?
Yes.
No?
Yes, that was a couple dollar bargain as well. Yes, that was a good buy. I was thinking about that one. I had a couple different price points I needed at that point, but yes, I love that guy, and he should be awesome.
Yeah, bounce back.
Who do you think on my team that you liked? We'll read our teams out later, or at least most of it. Who do you think my best buy was that you're like, oh, wow, that's a good buy?
I actually looked at your team before. I thought that your best buy was Jesus Luzardo. You got him for $17.
Yes.
I think he's probably like a $20+ player. I don't know what your
Yeah,
system
I
tells
had him
us.
worth 20. I got him at
Yeah,
17.
fourth
$3
most
bargain.
strikeouts in baseball. Just one of 12 pitchers with 200 Ks. I
Yep.
also think you got a really good deal on Johan Duran.
Yes.
Phillies.
$11 for like
Yeah.
a top four closer.
Oh yes.
I had two closers at that time, and to be honest, I'm like, well, I could definitely use a cheap guy. And all right, if I get overbid, no problem. Somebody spends an extra dollar, but I'll take him for 11. And I like so surprised. And at that point, it was, do I take another pitcher for a ridiculous discount, or do I just take another starter who's of a $10, $11 ilk? And I'm like, I'll take Durant for that because I have him worth $20.
Yeah, he's worth at least what I paid for Kate Smith, which was 15. Which you liked that price that I got for him, and I
That's
agree
right.
with you. Yeah,
That's
I agree
right.
with you with Duran. A couple other guys could I just mention, like in the league that I thought that got good deals, and you can tell me if you
Please,
agree or
please.
not. But Nick Pollock, Nick Kurtz for $22. I know that Kurtz, he strikes out a little bit too much, but in that ballpark, in Sacramento, I thought he was probably maybe upper 20s, a $30 player. Nick Kurtz.
ATC has him worth 18, although I tend to think he's worth a little bit more than that.
Okay.
So 22 to me is like par value. I don't know if I would think he's a $28 guy, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I saw you went for 33 in labor, but I guess
But well, he struck out 31% of the time. So
Yes,
it's,
no,
it's a
agreed.
big ding in a points league. In a roto league, it doesn't matter. He can strike out 80% of the time.
right.
Well, I mean, if you're struck out 80% of the time, you're not in the majors. But my favorite buy that I got, I think, was Stephen Kwan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this format, Stephen Kwan doesn't strike out. I got $9. Sorry, $8. I have him as a $15 player. So I basically just doubled my money, and wow, okay.
In this format, yes, guy that doesn't strike out a lot, and he's undervalued, overlooked in this format as well.
I got Zach Gallen for $6. He's easily a double-digit player.
What about Altuve? You feel you got a discount on him? Because I like him with the second base outfield eligibility, and quietly, even though I'm a Yankee fan, I don't like him, but the guy keeps on hitting. He keeps on hitting 20 home runs and stealing 10 plus bases for $11.
At that point, I only had one outfielder, so I'm like, whatever. I have him worth 13. I got him for 11. At that time, you really need, when you're getting your second outfielder and you're sort of in the middle of the draft, I tend to want to get $3, $4 bargains. But since I didn't have I only had one outfielder, I'm like, you know what? I'll take a $2 bargain for Altuve. Yeah, he has position eligibility, so I can keep a shorter bench and get more starting pitchers because this format you need starting pitchers. So that's why I took him. I don't love the player, but I don't go for the player. I go for the prices. I also bought Cody Bellinger for 15. In this format, he's worth 16, but so I got a $1 bargain. But Bellinger valuable. I needed that price point, and so.
Sure.
I saw the way the prices were going, and I'm like, if I don't just take a $1 bargain now, I'll get my bigger bargains later, but I just need to get some value. I mean, I took all the corner infielders. I took Devers at 20, Olsen at 20, Yandy Diaz at 10, and I took Eugenio Suarez at 12. I just loaded up on, $10 to $20 players just to build a nice fort in the middle. And, while everyone went overpriced earlier on, actually there wasn't that many bargains to me that I thought lower down. And that's because people had too much money. So the big thing that happened in this auction is that there was a terrible money mismanagement. Now, I know you overspent in the last two players. You felt that a little bit. Some people
Yes.
did much worse. Shane Baz went for $25 at the last. Now, people looking at it, the guy actually doesn't think he's worth 25, but he had $25 left, so he just spent it all on that one player. Okay.
And look, Clay Holmes went for $1.
Yeah. Yeah. Carter Jensen went for $19,
Yes,
which was
yes.
the same amount as Shea Langoliers, the second highest catcher, but that's because he had $19 to spend on his last catcher position. So there you go. So he basically left $18 on the table when you're doing that, because Carter Jensen, not 18, 16, 7, he's only worth 3 or 4 at the most. But this happened to literally 2/3 of the draft, and you're going to see a couple of crazy prices. I mean, to me, it's not great if you're leaving money on the table. It means you could have bought another player earlier, or you could have gotten a mega superstar. Like you could have turned any one of your guys into Otani, pretty much.
Yes, yeah,
It's really
and that's what happens there. And in my situation is I think I was a little too timid early on. So, for instance, I'm very happy and I targeted him, but I didn't get Wu, and instead I got Logan Webb, who I did target, and I think I overpaid for him a little bit, but
I thought it was decent price. I was
yeah,
in on him. I probably went up to 24. You went to 25.
yeah, yeah.
So that was not bad actually.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, just the fact that I paid 14 for
Sal Stewart.
Sal Stewart. I mean, I could have taken some of that money and then gotten a Woo for $28 or
What's your
whatnot.
take on Tatsuya Imai, who you spent $8 on? Now, as a projection guy, projections don't know what the hell to do with him. But I've heard from so many people that they just love his stuff. So I
Oh my
wasn't going to
gosh,
take that
yeah.
gamble. But can you tell me what your thoughts on him are?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he's got I think I mentioned it earlier. He's got this slider that instead of going away from right-handed hitters, comes in on them. Just got a really good mix of pitches. But not only that, I think it's the intangibles that he's coming in and he wants to take no prisoners. He's like, I don't want to play for the Dodgers. I want to take them down. So he has the underlying skill set and some interesting pitch mixes that American players aren't going to be used to seeing. So I think he's going to have, he's going to have the heads up on them from that point of view. But he's also got a little bit of the chip on his shoulder, the intangibles. So I would feel that for $8, worth a shot.
What do you think of Jacob Mizorowski, who you got for $9?
I like him a lot. But his walks scare me a little bit. But I think he's one of these guys that I mentioned, at the start of the podcast. Just a young player who has a good underlying skill set, but still has a lot of upside. I think that he could have potentially a breakout season, but he's got to curtail those strikeouts. And I think he's going to be the Brewers' opening day pitcher.
So the other pitcher that you bought that I wanted to ask you about is Cody Ponce. Now I have Cody Ponce in a few leagues. I see some upside where he carries over, from foreign to here. There was a little bit of a question, if you remember, during the
Yes.
auction because
Yes.
the question is whether he's starting pitcher or relief pitcher or both eligible. It would have been better for you if he was both starter and relief
Sure.
because he would be a SPARP, which means you can start him as a reliever even though he's a starter. I don't think it matters for your team anyways. You've got 3 closers. We'll talk about it in a second. But what are your thoughts about Cody Ponce? I'm actually optimistic about him.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about him in an article I did like about a month ago, and just what I read about him was really, just led me, like, he's a guy that I targeted. I think he had the most strikeouts ever in the KBO, just reinvented himself. Last time he was in the major leagues, I think he pitched to a 7 ERA. And like you mentioned, he was a reliever. But some of these guys, they go over, and play in Japan and KBO, and they just reinvent themselves. And I think that he has a chance to, not be a frontline starter, but definitely be a middle of the rotation guy on a very good team. The Blue Jays. The Blue Jays.
So I do want to talk to you about the relief pitcher strategy. Now, you and I both did the same thing, and we took 3 closers. You've got Fairbanks, Cade Smith, and Dennis Santana. My closers are Aroldis Chapman, Edwin Diaz, and Johan Duran. I went like crazy on the stars. Obviously, I've got the best bullpen of anybody here. But it's a points league, so you don't need saves. Just to remind people, you don't actually need saves. You need points. But I think this is my mind. I think for people thinking that you shouldn't spend on a high closer, it's a little silly because I understand we don't have saves, but you do have to roster 2 relievers. So what's the point in not taking a closer? But anyways, you took 3 of them. Was that a set thing, or did you just like the prices as they come up?
I liked the prices. I wanted it to have at least 2. But when I saw what Dennis Santana, that I could get him for $3 for the Pirates, I liked what I saw from him last year after he became the closer. And really, there's no one behind him there that can really take his job, at least that we know of right now. I mean, I
Right.
think the guy they got from the Rays, I forget, Mason Montgomery might have. I like his stuff, but I think that that Dennis Santana is gonna have a long leash, and for $3, it was worth it. And you know,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
And Fairbanks for 5 is a good deal as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. As long as he stays healthy, and he's been doing that past couple of years, right? That was a problem with him.
I like having the extra reliever on this team because for weeks that you don't have a great starting lineup, you can throw in that extra closer who'll get you some time. And what and I said this, I was on the CBS Fantasy Baseball Today podcast. I did the mock head-to-head points league, and my point was, if you have one closer, you can have a week where they have no saves, and then you can have a week where they have 3 saves. But if you have volume, if you've got like 3 of them, you're just going to get some expected value out of the 3. And to me, if I spend on 3 elite closers, I'll get a week with expected elite value every single week, right? So to me, that's not a bad strategy. I'd rather go for 3 if you can. It is a viable strategy because of the volume and because of the volatility of saves in each week. And if you make up your money from the other positions, you want at least a good high expected value, and that saves bank gives it to you. That's sort of the way that I play that. So not that I was targeting 3 closers, but I was very comfortable taking that 3rd closer at the right price. And I guess you were the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's read through our teams just to wrap it up and to talk about positions. So my catchers are William Contreras, Adley Rutschman. I spent high, but I got 2 of the top. Definitely Contreras a top 5 catcher at least. Adley Rutschman a top 10. My infield is Matt Olson, Eugenio Suarez, Rafael Devers, very strong. My middle infield, I went cheap but bargainy. Xavier Edwards for 2, who's like a $7 player. Dansby Swanson for 7, who's like an $11 player. And Willie Adames for 9, which is like a $14 player. So I got bargains, but I didn't have to spend that much. And my outfield is Cody Bellinger, Jose Altuve, Stephen Kwan, and then 2 cheapy guys, TJ Friedel, Sal Frelick, just returning value or a couple dollars bargain. To be honest, there wasn't much to get at the end because as everybody had money, I couldn't really get big bargains, so I just got whoever I got. And Yandy Diaz is my utility. The pitchers, Jesus Luzardo, Logan Gilbert. I took a gamble on a cheapish Zach Wheeler, but remember, it's a playoff league, so if he is back, I get his full value.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Nick Pivetta, Zach Gallen, Jack Flaherty, so a lot of volume. And then my closers, Yohan Duran, Aroldis Chapman, Edwin Diaz. We'll talk a little bit about the reserve rounds in a second, but why don't you tell everybody what your team was?
So my 2 catchers are Will Smith, which we discussed, Edgar Quero, who, like I mentioned, he's going to get a long run, 6-8 weeks maybe with Teal, dealing with that hamstring injury. Vinny Pasquantino is my first baseman. My corner is Kazuma Okamoto. I'm interested to see what you think of him, but for $5, he's going to be the everyday third baseman, I think, for the Blue Jays, and doesn't strike out much. Has 20 home run power. So he was somebody that I was targeting for. I've been liking him for like the past couple of months. Tyler Soderstrom, like I mentioned, first base outfield eligible. Still, his strikeouts have gone down in each of his seasons. This is his 4th season coming up, and he plays in a great hitter's ballpark. Jazz Chisholm, I had to get my Yankee, right? And actually, I paid 21 for him. I didn't pay 29, so I apologize. I read that wrong. But
okay.
So and like I said, the second base, third base eligible. Zach Neto, another guy, home run, stolen base guy, another young guy that is on the rise. But like you mentioned, has that wrist injury, but he's taking batting practice. I cross my fingers he'll be fine. Trevor Story, I think he's found the home with the Red Sox. We could deal with. He strikes out a lot, but it's kind of I think settling into like a 25% K rate, which I know it stinks in this kind of format, but with 25 home runs, 25 stolen bases, and like I said, I think he's settled in and comfortable with the Red Sox. Churio, I've mentioned them before, still on the rise. Two great seasons so far. Jack Caglione, Teoscar Hernandez, hoping for a bounce back. Got him for $7 in a loaded, obviously, Dodgers lineup. Brian Reynolds for $7. I know I probably paid what he's worth, but he ended the season on a high note, and he's not the Brian Reynolds of 5-8 years ago, but he's still darn good in a 5 outfielder league. And Ryan O'Hearn, if you look at what he did once he went to the Pirates, and he's I think he's multi-position eligible, first base outfield as well for $2. Sal Stewart I overpaid for, but I think he's going to have a fine season. Freddie Peralta, Logan Webb, two very good, I think, anchors to this pitching staff that I came up with. Yes. Tetsuya Amai, we talked about. Cody Ponce has some upside. Michael King coming back. He had some injuries he was dealing with last year. He's the ace of the Padres staff.
I bought him in labor.
Yeah.
I bought him labor.
Mizraska, we talked about. I'd like to see him cut down the walks a little bit, and we talked about the three closers. Pete Fairbanks, who hasn't been on the IL as much as he was in the past, and I think he's got 25 saves in him at least for the Marlins. And Smith, the Guardians just keep on cranking out closers, and Dennis Santana, like I said, nobody really could behind him that is breathing down his neck to take that job from him.
Okay, let's talk reserve rounds. So what was your plan going into the reserve rounds for this draft?
Because I filled out my pitching staff early, I think I was the first one to finish taking pitchers, which I kind of regretted a little bit, but because you figure maybe I could have got some more bargains later in the draft. But so that was my, I wanted to load up on some extra pitching, and that's what I did. I don't know if you want me to tell the audience who I got.
Sure.
Yeah, Braxton Ashcraft, who, everybody talks about the top two guys in the Pirates rotation, obviously Skeens and Bubba Chandler. But this guy you look at his stats, and I think he's got some upside. Grant Holmes has had issues with walks, but he's been striking out people like crazy this spring and even last year. Peyton Tolley, I think he has a shot at being like the fifth starter for the Red Sox. Been pitching really well lately in spring training. Josh Young, he's got a little bit of an injury problem right now, and unfortunately he hasn't really turned out to be the player that we expected him to be so far. But I think even by your projections, I think he's like a 17 home run guy, at third base, which is a tough spot.
Yeah, I just drafted Josh Young in TGFBI like literally an hour ago.
Oh, wow, cool. Okay. Mine's done. I don't know what round you're in TGF.
Oh, we're like the slowest one. We're in round, I'm going to say 24, something like that. And my Raz Slam one's even more. My Raz Slam is like round 20, which is like, holy hell. That's not going to finish before opening day.
So my last two in the reserve, Justin Crawford. I know we don't go by average here, but a high average prospect, steals a lot of bases. Roster Resource has him as the ninth hitter, but based on his OBP potential, I think he eventually, if he makes the team, which I think he will, maybe they put him behind Turner, and then you have Bryce Harper and the other guy.
They want him to succeed, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to score a lot of runs there. And Ian Seymour, just, a little upside in pitching as well for the Rays.
So you took mostly pitching, and you took two hitters, which is the same thing that I did. By design. I took Merrill Kelly, who I got the first pick, by the way, in the reserve round, and he was just the highest value.
Is it the champ, my man?
Yeah, champ gets the pick first. So I got Kelly, who was just the highest value pitcher. Starters mean something, so you want more starters on your bench because you can cycle them in.
Just innings, right? Because you get points per inning pitched.
Exactly. I had cheap outfielders, so I said, let me take a high-priced outfielder. Colton Cowser was the next best outfielder, so I took him. Then I took a bunch of pitchers in a row. Brandon Pfaadt, Chris Bassett, Quinn Priester, and Brian Bayo. So I've got five starters on my thing. Quinn Priester is a SPARP, so I can, if I wanted, if I have a big week with a lot of starters, I can actually put him in as a starter if I wanted. Just
hopefully that I think he's got is it a wrist issue right now or something? At least it's not his elbow or anything, but I know he'll be fine.
Yeah, and again, I pick up somebody in the meantime, put him. It's a limited IL in this league. pick up some in the meantime, and he's healthy for playoffs.
Yeah.
And again, he's my second to last reserve pick. If I cut him, I cut him. Whatever.
Yeah. No,
So it
I
doesn't
like him. I
matter.
think he's got upside.
I will notice that you do not have any $1 players. You bought everybody for 2 and over, and I did the same thing, by the way.
Yeah, sometimes, you throw a buck out there and somebody's going to raise it to 2, then you got to go to 3. So if I really want someone, sometimes instead of throwing out a buck, I'll put out 2. And like I said, like you mentioned, and I acknowledged, I didn't manage my money as well as I should have. Had a lot of extra money later in the draft, so had some money to spare.
Overall, are you happy with how you did it? And what do you think that is the key takeaway that maybe you could have improved on, and maybe what did you do the best?
Overall, in prepping to talk to you, I took a closer look at my team, and I think I like it a lot. If I had to do it over again, I think maybe I might have been a little bit more aggressive in my bidding, maybe bid it up, and this way manage my money a little bit better. But overall, I think I've got a chance of at least, in this league, it's top 6 to make the playoffs. So I think I've got a shot to be at least 6th.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what I did best was my money management. I exactly played the right part of the curve that I thought was good. I'm totally cool with not having a player over $20. The last time I did that, I finished in first place heading into the playoffs. So it works. I think people are scared to play a different strategy than I have to take a superstar. I have to take a first round player for 30 plus. I don't see a need to, especially in a points league. So I was totally good with it. I didn't plan to it. I was ready for it. I didn't plan for it. And the reason I was more ready for it was because it happened once before. And I knew exactly what to do if I noticed, oh, wait a minute, is this going to be like that league again? Well, I know what to do. I got to go Matt Olson 20, Rafael Devers 20. So I was very happy with that. In terms of regrets, again, I think I played the right catcher part of the curve, but I did not love some of the actual things there. Maybe Yandy Diaz wasn't. Maybe I could have gotten a better bargain elsewhere, but not terrible. Maybe a little bit risky in the staff with Zach Wheeler on there. Jack Flaherty, will he last all year? Zach Gallen, could he be good again? Return. So there are some risks, but overall, decent volume. So I'm pretty happy with my team, actually. I walked away, thought this was an A auction for me. And a little bit, not a very normal looking team that other people would buy, but, still very, very valuable.
No, I agree. And look, our teams are not going to look the same because we're going to be working. I mean, I know you and we work the waiver wire very hard. So,
I'm everywhere, buddy. I'm everywhere.
Yeah. So that's the fun part as well. Not only creating the team, but now, perfecting it, right? Tweaking it.
Yeah, it's not over on the draft, but it's all year. What if you had to give a percentage? What percentage importance is the draft versus in season?
Percentage, I would probably have to say 65% with the draft, and if you play your cards right, the waiver wire could just be a huge part of winning a championship.
I'll say like 65% for like a 15-team league. For a 12, I'll say 60.
Okay.
A little bit more waiver wire in a 12-team league, know. But I think we're in the same ballpark, though. Our thoughts,
Yeah.
All right. Any last words? Anything else that we left off to talk about? Our recap of the draft.
No, just just kudos to the Tout Wars staff, and just being in a room with Todd Zola, the auctioneer, Jeff Erickson, Jason Collette, guys like yourself, fantasy royalty, and
I'm not fantasy royalty, but
you're getting there, buddy. You're getting there. Come on.
No. But we're
just
definitely having a good time.
Yeah. The fantasy community, is just amazing. So if you have an opportunity to take part in fantasy sports, especially a live auction, any type of live draft, just being in a room with guys and gals that just share your passion for baseball, it's just something that you need to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing I noticed part of Tout Wars weekend, the big news, and I don't know if I don't think they were purposely going for it, but in the AL auction, Aaron Judge went for 62 which is a record for any Tout Wars league. And then a few hours later, Todd Zola actually in the mixed auction picked him for 63, another
Yeah,
record.
yeah. I think he wanted himself on the record books because he was, tweeting about it or Xing about it, whatever it's called.
Maybe. Personally, I think that it's an overpay to spend $63. I did my numbers, and in Aaron Judge's career year last year, he earned like something like $48, which is, oh my God. But if you're paying 63, you're automatically losing $15 on the spot, even if he has a career year. So I just can't see myself doing that. I mean, Aaron Judge, maybe I would have gone to 52 for him. He's a special player, but I probably would not have even done that.
I agree with you. Otherwise I would have, outbid. I think it was Sam that had him for 52. But obviously, I'm a Yankee fan and I love Judge. But my previous strategies has been try to get as many 35 or more home run guys on your squad, because obviously with a home run you're hitting four categories, right? The home run, the base hit, the run.
Oh, I just want to point out that
Yeah.
they went for in the 60s. Just to point out that Tout Wars is an OBP league format. So if you're
forget it, 400 in OBP.
Yes, if you're playing in a batting average league, 62 would be idiotic. It's less idiotic in an OBP league, just to get set. It's still too much for my taste. I think it's a little. I mean, and to me, the 63 isn't as bad as the 62 in AL, because if you're in a mono league, and I've talked about this on my show a lot, it's very prohibitive to fill in the rest of your team if you have a $62 player, much less if you have anything above like 40 or 45. Because you want to get in a mono league, you want to get players with playing time. You're going to be stuck with a lot of $1 players at the end if you bid anything over 45 or even over 40, to be honest. So I thought 62 was just, oh my God, are you serious?
Mm-hmm. So you're a Met fan. I'm a Yankee fan. You've already said that per your calculations, I think he's worth $38. Judge, what is Soto worth?
In our head-to-head format that we did?
Yeah.
So Soto is worth $40 more than Judge.
Because of the stolen bases.
Stolen bases add up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the OBP is very similar projected.
Very, yeah.
So I mean 38 versus 40. They're basically the same player. But Soto went for cheaper than Aaron Judge did. Aaron Judge went higher. Again, if you're going to spend $44 in this format on a player, that's fine. It's a $4 overpay for like the second to top player. That's fine. It's different to go 50. And by the way, I don't want to criticize people, but it is expert league, and I think it's okay if I do criticize. It's a public league, and it's meant to show people what to do. And I'm a member of the league, and I think it's okay to criticize. I know some people are like, oh, I don't know, you shouldn't say anything bad about this guy picked this guy. But I again, respectfully, and this comes out of, like, I have total respect for Todd Zola. I think Zola is a legend.
Yes.
I think that's a big bid.
He's a Hall of Famer, yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer, rightfully so a Hall of Famer.
Yes,
I just don't think he made a good move on this play. But maybe it'll prove me wrong, and I'll say I was wrong the other next year. I don't think I will. I think there's a small chance because he probably won't pass $50 in terms of value. But hey, you never know.
Who knows? Maybe he'll hit 60 home runs again, right? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, my joke when I said I was in the AL and they were like 50, 51, 52. I'm like, what are we saying? How many homers he's gonna hit? You're paying $1 per homer here. But yeah. All right. So thank you for coming on the show, Joe, to talk about the auction. It was a really fun time, and it was great to see you in person. Last time I saw you was a year ago. So
yes, unfortunately we don't see each other often enough, and it's always a good time. You light up the room, I have to say. So you make the draft
in a good way,
fun.
hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's always fun drafting with you. Hope to see you more. Hopefully the next time hopefully we see each other before next year.
Well, I'm in the New York City area, so let's definitely get together before.
Yeah, we could maybe meet up at a game or something. Why not, right? Hey, where I moved, the Phillies have their high A team, and they play the Brooklyn Cyclones. They play, the Yankees high A team. So if you ever find yourself down in South Jersey, you have my cell phone number now.
Right,
Let's go.
Sounds good, Joe. Before I let you go, why don't you just tell everybody where they can read your stuff and all things Joe Gallina?
Okay. So I'm currently writing for Fantasy Alarm, also Althon Sports. My X handle is at I am Joe Gallina. That's JoeGallina.
And that's because you
The
got hacked by a bot, right?
Yeah, yes, it used to be at Joe Gallina. So if you're following that, don't follow that. Follow at I am Joe Gallina. Still trying to get the old one back, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me, man.
Oh, of course. The last couple of weeks, I've gotten like DMs from people saying, "Hey, can you please vote for me for a sports award?" And I have not clicked any of them yet. Thank God,
Very
because
smart
then,
man. Yes.
yeah, then I'd be hacked. But after a while, I'm like, wait a minute, this is spam and this is hacking. There you go. I'm Ariel Cohen. You can see my work over at Fangraphs, over at Rotoballer. The ATC projections are up everywhere. They're on Fangraphs, they're on Rotoballer, RotoWire, and they're also on Yahoo. I actually just did a league the other day, and on Yahoo, you can actually see ATC projections as you draft. That was so freaking cool to get actually the point scoring that
Wow.
ATC thinks it is in my own draft. I don't got to
Well,
go to my
that's-
sheet. I could just use the software. So that is freaking awesome and very useful for anybody who wants to use ATC, by the way.
And you say you're not fantasy royalty. Come on.
Well, no, not like that. But yeah, and of course you can reach me on Twitter at ATCNY. I've not been hacked yet, so I'm still there. And of course, the Beat the Shift podcast will be here. I don't think we're going to have a show next week, as I'm doing a number of drafts in person and online. So we probably won't. Apologize, because we usually do like a bold predictions going into opening day. Maybe we'll do that the following week or so, but apologize for that. Maybe if we can get Ruvain and I free for a little bit, we'll do an injury show together. We'll see if we can do that. But anyways, thank you for everyone for listening for all this draft season. Thank you again to Joe for coming on the show. And from all of us here at Beat the Shift, we'll see you next time, and have a great rest of your draft season.
Thanks for listening to the Beat the Shift podcast presented by Fangraphs. Follow us on Twitter at beat_shift_pod.